More on that breaking Fox News poll, a national poll now showing that Hillary Clinton leading Donald Trump by 7 points, 45% to 38%. That's in a four-way race. The poll shows that Donald Trump lost 4% of his support, this following that Access Hollywood tape, Clinton gaining only 1%. Now, our Fox News poll was taken after that tape, but also before these new allegations that broke just last night. Joining me to discuss, presidential scholar Mark Smith and Fox News Decision Desk Director Arnon Mishkin. All right, let me ask you, Arnon, what stood out to you? What's the most important aspect? Because there's several layers to this poll.
To me, the most important aspect of the poll this week is that Hillary Clinton gained 1 point, but Donald Trump lost 4 points in the poll versus last week. That is a significant shift, and but what's interesting is Trump is losing some support. They've gone out there, they haven't yet moved to Hillary Clinton. And so while she clearly is advantaged in the poll, there is still potentially an opportunity for either Trump to win those people back or for those people to wind up siding with one of these.
Do you buy the Johnson 7%, Stein 3%? I mean, ultimately, I mean, Stein got like a fraction of a fraction last time around. I can't see her getting 3 or 4%.
Historically, third-party candidates fade as you get closer and closer to Election Day. I think this year it is very possible that Republicans in particular, people who would like to not vote for Hillary Clinton, may find it safer to vote for Gary Johnson than to vote for Donald Trump.
You know, Charles, it's funny because I was thinking about when we were talking over the summer about Brexit. And I remember living through Brexit where the Remain vote was always in the lead, even on the day of the election. And then Brexit won. And, you know, what's very interesting, the question is, why are we even talking about the polls? Now, I think it's fun to talk about the polls today, but what people really are curious about is today's poll going to tell us what happens in November? And I think, frankly, as objectively as I can be, I don't think it really does, because, you know, you have a 3% margin of error on this poll, right, which means, you know, that's essentially, to me, almost a statistical tie. And then you throw in the fact that if you watch enough TV, you know what's going on. People who have Trump signs up, that have Trump posters up, they get vandalized, they get torn down. I think a lot of people are going to support Donald Trump, but they don't want to publicly admit it,
but, you know,
especially the
only thing I would say,
I
know you want to refute that, but I would add that I noticed in online polls that, you know, not the ones where people, you know, vote right 4,000 times.
Like you, Charles.
Actually Hillary Clinton does better in those, and those are completely anonymous. And I don't know if someone calls a Trump supporter up on a cell phone and say, who are you voting for? I mean, these are the most rambunctious, proud people I've ever seen. They're so excited to vote for Donald Trump. I never thought fear as being one of the characteristics.
I think a lot of people are like that, Charles. I think there are some very vigorous Trump supporters, but I think what we're trying to capture in the polls, of course, Arnon, right, are those ones that are like more in the middle, maybe not as vociferous, and I think those are the ones that these polls, frankly, I don't think really capture. So, again, I enjoy talking about the polls, but one wonders how predictive they're going to be.
Well,
what's going to happen in November.
Mark, that during the Republican primaries, there was never, and there was much discussion about this, but there was never any evidence that there was a hidden Trump vote. And as for what went on in Brexit with the Remain candidates, Brexit was always within margin of error of Remain. And everyone thought that Remain was definitely going to win. And the failure there was not the failure of polling. The failure was the failure of people reading the polls and not realizing.
Well, I will say this. I've studied that as well, and I did see a poll June 12th, 2 weeks before the election, where Stay was winning. And it was the assassination of the MP, that woman, that changed the vote, but I think it was just temporarily. I think that's when people were ashamed to tell posters, I'm for leave, because, you know, someone was just murdered on the streets and the media was spinning it. But to your point, that was always relatively tight. We're going to, right now, for Donald Trump to come back, it's going to be a historic proportion, something like what Ronald Reagan did, right? So this puts a lot of pressure, perhaps, on the next debate. No, Mark?
I think the debate is, of course, very important. But it's not just the debate. I mean, every day we're getting more and more information out. I mean, yesterday's breaking news about how the Clinton campaign viewed the Catholic Church is just shocking. Not to mention these constant, you know, other stories about, you know, the FBI and the emails. And, you know, the one wonders if this all adds up to a critical mass, and come November, we're going to see Donald Trump winning this election. Of course, one doesn't know. If we could predict this, we'd all be billionaires on Wall Street, right?
To Mark's point, though, right, the pendulum is swinging on this election much faster than ever before.
Absolutely.
And so, I mean, it's been 2 or 3 week cycles. Someone's up, then they're down. Someone's up, and then they're down. I mean, this has not been smooth at all. And because there's so many people who aren't really, you know, might call them undecided or just not, you know, necessarily enamored with either candidate, there could be something last minute that tips that, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you have two candidates, according to today's poll, that are to a certain extent fairly toxically viewed by the electorate.
Right.
Donald Trump is viewed as not having the right temperament, not really being qualified. But both of them, 2/3 of America thinks both of them are not trustworthy. And that it means, and they're going to figure out where to vote. It's not at all clear where.
My last point is that American politics is not English soccer, where you can have shutouts. Everyone scores points in politics. At the end of the day, it's just about who wins the election. I think they're both scoring points for the next several weeks. As to where it winds up, no one knows.
Yeah, wow. I'll tell you what, it's been exciting. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.